NutraBee was started approximately 22 years ago, and it was started for personal need. Me and my wife, we had a car accident, which was not our fault. And she had a substantial head injury. And for 3 months, she was looking for cure and help. And she couldn't find anything other than honey and herbs. So we went and bought 2 kilograms of honey, and she did extensive research for 3 months on herbs that might help for the head injury. After combining 15 different herbs, we mixed 15 herbs and 2 kilograms of honey, and she started using it. I tasted that product, and that product was so delicious and so good. So I said, wow, this is really nice, tasty. Not only that's gonna help us, especially you, but tastes awesome. And at that time, we had a 6-apartment building, and we had lots of old people who were staying with us. And I said, we mix 2 kilos of honey with all these herbs. What are we gonna do? So we're gonna take some of that and give it to our friends, our tenants. And we had one lady specifically, her name was Charlotte, and she was about 78 years old, and she was suffering from many illness. And we give her a jar of the Safa, which is right here. And she came to us, she said, wow, that is so beautiful, that is so good. Where do you find this? So we told her about that, and she said, can I buy some product from you? Everything started from there. After 3 months using Safa, honey and herbs, Be Active, my wife, she became a new person. She didn't have no headache. She had an excellent result from that. And I told her, I said, now you are semi-retired. Why don't you start helping other people? And that's how a company was born. After 22 years, we have about 20 different products. That's a very good question. Honey is a known food in a world that doesn't spoil. Honey is a known food in a world that helps people with energy, with allergy, with digestion. Even honey is food for our brain. So in our young days, we admire and we had the bees and we know the value of the honey. So we thought if we mix herbs with honey, honey doesn't spoil and the herbs won't spoil and the honey either. So you have beneficial and you have a good tasting with honey. The bees are extremely important to our existence. Among the 20,000 different type of insects, honeybees are most important for human existence. Reason number one, they are pollinate our food basket. Up to 90% of the food basket is pollinated by bees. There is a study, if we have no bees on this earth, in 5 years we have no humans, because this is how much they are valuable. So this is the reason why we have to look for the bees. We have to make sure that we plant enough flowers, especially lavender and sage. They are really attracted to those flowers. They pollinate up to 90% of the food. They are the only insect in the world that they are self-sufficient. They don't fight for their own existence. Raw honey is basically pure honey. The fancy word is called raw, but all the pure honey that is produced in the beehive, like we have here, honeycomb, this is a raw. Long as the honey is not heated over 140 degrees Fahrenheit, it's raw. So benefits of the raw honey contains, with the bee pollen, contains over 300 minerals and vitamins. Also, honey is very good for the allergy, for asthma, for breathing problems. Honey also feeds our brain. Our brain consumes glucose and fructose. So these are the benefits that are very essential for human body. Processed honey is pasteurized honey. Processed honey is additive of honey and corn syrup in majority of the cases. They mix corn syrup and they pasteurize honey for longer shelf life, and also honey will not crystallize. The mixture that they have there, it will taste uniquely, it will taste the same. You will not taste corn syrup and honey you will taste only between corn syrup and honey as well. Raw honey has all the benefits. Raw honey with the bee pollen has over 300 minerals and vitamins. When you pasteurize honey, honey is pasteurized on temperature between 140 to 160, 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So in that process, many of the nutrients are burned and basically are not there. So you are thinking you have honey with all the nutrients, all the minerals, all the vitamins, but the contrary, basically majority of them are burned. It's the same thing when you are boiling vegetable or steaming vegetable. It's the same process. Crystallization of honey occurs for two reasons. Reason number one, depending where the bees collect honey, from what flowers. Some flowers, the nectar actually from the flower is made into honey with the bees and will crystallize sooner than other ones. Our honey basically is from the wildflowers, over 4 million different flowers where our bees are feeding, and will not crystallize minimum for 6 months. When the honey crystallizes, that's a really good sign, and I tell everybody, read and study the benefits of the honey and why honey crystallizes. That means the honey is real raw. Honey will crystallize, number one, if it's cold. If the temperature drops below 15 degrees Celsius, honey will start crystallizing because there is a yeast in honey, and honey is a living enzyme. So this way, that yeast will start developing small crystals, and those crystals will grow higher and higher and higher. If you keep the honey on the 25 degrees Celsius and higher, it will never crystallize. Why bees collect honey and store in a honeycomb, and they are always keeping the temperature of the beehive between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Why they do that? Number one, they keep themselves warm. Number two, honey is collected only for themselves. So once when they are in need to eat honey, if it's crystallized, they will not be able to eat. So that's why honey in the honeycomb, in the beehive, is always liquid. For that reason, because it's a nice and warm. They keep the beehive so warm only for one reason: they clap their wings. In summer months, there is about 80,000 bees per colony, and there are bees in the colony that they take care of their mother. There are bees who go look for the flowers. Worker bees, they keep the colony warm because of only clapping their wings. Only one queen bee, and she is the only one, and they take care of her royally. Queen bee is hatched to be a queen, and it's hatched in a way, once when the queen bee lay egg, that egg is fed for 21 days with royal jelly. After 21 days, it will become a queen. Worker bees, once when their queen lays eggs, are fed with royal jelly only for 3 days. After 3 days, they start feeding them with the honey. That's why they become worker bees. So there is only one mother per one colony, and summer months is up to 80,000. In winter months, that colony drops down to 30,000 because they know the winter is coming and the colony need to be smaller in order to survive. Royal jelly doesn't come too much from the beehive. Beekeeper have to collect royal jelly, have to have willingness and ability, and it's a very, very slow process. In average in North America, there is not too much royal jelly collected, other than if you have special beekeepers who collect royal jelly. Bees, they make special combs, and once they make a special combs, they know that comb is made for the royal jelly, and that royal jelly is filled for the queen bee. This is how royal jelly is made. The benefits of the royal jelly are tremendous. According to scientific study, you can even produce honey in lab, but you cannot produce royal jelly because royal jelly has all the minerals and vitamins that basically today's science cannot find, produce, and implement. So honey is produced in a lab, we see reports all over, and royal jelly is produced from bee pollen. So there is a jar of bee pollen here. So they collect this. Bee pollen. Bee pollen is so rich with the nutrients, they produce royal jelly for their mother. So this is the raw material for the royal jelly. Royal jelly is excellent for your skin, for your bones, for your hair, and it's called fountain of youth. If you want to stay young, beautiful, I recommend royal jelly, and every day up to 3 grams. From the beehives, bees collect basically 4 different products. Number 1, they collect honeycomb. They make honeycomb and they store. This is the housing for the honey. They also collect royal jelly. They collect royal jelly only for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, to feed their mother. Worker bee normally lives up to 60 days and queen bee lives up to 5 years. She only eats royal jelly. So number 1, they collect honey. Number 2, they collect royal jelly. They collect bee pollen, which they use bee pollen to pollinate other flowers. Once when they are going from flower to flower, all the bee pollen that they collect are male bee pollen. And that's why they are able to pollinate other flowers, because they are carrying male bee pollen to the other flowers. And 4 product they are collecting is a bee propolis. Bee propolis, according to scientific study, is a 21st century antibiotic, and it really helps people tremendously for sore throat, dry throat, cuts, wounds, against cold. So not only that they collect honey, but they collect 4 different products: honey, bee pollen, bee propolis, and royal jelly. Bee propolis bees collect mainly from evergreen trees, and it's very gluey substance. So they use that for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, they use that as an antibiotic in the beehive for themselves. And reason number 2, if the beehive is cracked, so what they do, they use that to close the cracks and openings so the other insects don't come and destroy them as well. They are very vulnerable, and other insects are always looking for food, and they are very, 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 very easy prey. According to scientific study, bee propolis is rated number 1 natural antibiotic in the world. Also, during the Second World War, when the medicine was not developed that much, many armies used the bee propolis to treat the wounds, even when they are in a situation where they have to cut limbs from the wounded soldiers. They use that as a natural antibiotic. Bees, they collect honey from the flowers. If the honey is pure, it has to be from the flowers. We have 2 types of honey here. We have a dark honey and we have a gold honey as well. Dark honey comes from flower called buckwheat. That's why it's very, very dark. The gold honey comes from the wildflowers, and that's why it's a gold color. So this is the reason only the flowers, nectar of the flowers, will dictate the color of the honey. Remember one thing, nature of the honey, the darker, the thicker, the better. If you buy honey, and you buy honey that's very rigid, and it flows like a water, that means that's a pasteurized honey. If you don't know what's the pure honey, you can just take the honey like this, and see how slowly flows, and that's a sign of the natural honey. Definitely, gold honey tastes much milder than a dark honey. Dark honey tastes stronger because dark honey contains more natural antioxidants, and that's why its nectar is dark, and that's why it's dark. I have a piece of honeycomb here. Honeycomb is basically housing where the bees collect and keep the honey. So this is basically a dish for the bees to keep the honey. So honeycomb is a real raw honey. When it comes to the raw, honeycomb is real raw. Honeycomb is 100% edible. Honeycomb contains bee pollen, bee propolis, and royal jelly. So this is the nature of the honeycomb. I'm gonna show you here a piece of honeycomb. It's so nice and tasty, sweet, but has a many different taste, because this is a really raw, unprocessed. It contains bee wax, obviously that's the basis of bee wax, bee pollen, bee propolis, and royal jelly in a honeycomb. Yes, raw honey and honey is safe to eat, except few cases. Honey is not recommended to be fed to children under 1 year old, because children at 1 year old, their system is not developed that good yet. Also, honey is not recommended for people who are allergic to bees and honey. There is about 1 in 200,000 people who are allergic to honey, so we do not recommend them to eat honey. And that's why we have warning on the label: don't feed honey to infants 1 year and younger. Actually, our honey tastes amazing, and I'm gonna show it you here. I have a little spoon, and I'm gonna show you this honey. You see how nice it is, how it flows nice, and it tastes amazing. Wow, it just tastes amazing and sweet, but very rich with the other tastes as well. Like you can almost taste here different types of flowers, and it's really amazing taste. I recommend to everybody who cares about their health to substitute honey for processed sugar, especially processed sugar. Honey has calories, obviously, like any other food, and honey is a body booster. Honey will give energy to our body. So you can use honey in coffee, you can use honey in tea, you can bake. My wife, she bakes all the sweets, cakes, muffins, pastries with honey. We don't even have white sugar in our home because refined sugar, it is not too healthy to eat. So definitely good honey, it's raw honey, unprocessed, unpasteurized, is excellent. You can put in your tea, you can put in your coffee, you can put in your smoothie. Perfect spread on your bread instead of the jams that contain lots of sugar. You can use it in your crepes and just enjoy it. Raw honey and real honey doesn't expire. Raw honey should not expire because raw honey doesn't have moisture inside. The maximum moisture should be up to 18%. So honey does not grow bacteria. So even if you take honey after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, if the honey is crystallized, that's a real sign of the raw, pure, unprocessed honey. Honey could be uncrystallized very simply. If it's crystallized a little bit, I would not bother decrystallizing, because when you decrystallize, you have to heat it. And remember, if it's heated over 140 degrees Fahrenheit, it will start losing nutrients, minerals, and vitamins. So if you have a jar of honey like this in the cupboard and it's crystallized on the bottom a little bit, I would just suggest you to use it as it is. If it's crystallized more than that, just put some hot water, put it in a jar of hot water, mix it well, and enjoy it. Being around the bees, it's a really nice pleasure, because you could be around thousands and thousands of bees. Normally, bees will not sting you unless you are fighting with them. If you are not fighting with the bees, if you are not scared, they will absolutely not sting you. Remember one thing: if the honeybee stings you, that means she is in danger. Why am I saying she is in danger? Because 99.99% honeybees are female in the beehive. So once when they sting you, after they sting, they die. So they will sting you only for one reason: if those bees, or that particular bee, is in danger. If you take that bees and start squashing, throwing around, that can sting you, but other than that, bee will never sting you. So I recommend to everybody, don't be scared of the bees, don't fight with them, don't clap your hands, don't go here, don't scratch yourself, and bee will never sting you. It's always a pleasure to see honey taking out from the beehive, especially when the year is so good, when the flowers are abundant and the bees, they collect enough honey. As you can see here, we have a honeycomb, and this honeycomb, normally when it's filled, it should have approximately 3 kilos of honey, or about 6 pounds of honey. So it is really a pleasure to see that. And also, if you love to eat honey, you can just take a spoon, open it, and enjoy it. And it's the best food in the world. That's a very good question. It takes about 70,000 bees to make 1 kilo of honey. Here, we have a 1/3 kilo of honey. So it takes 1/3 of 70,000. So it's about 20 some thousand bees to make this much honey. 70,000 bees, they have to fly 240,000 miles to collect 1 kilo of honey. You can see how hard they work. In order to make this much honey, they would have to go and visit about 3 million different flowers. That's why they are certainly busy bees. The difference between raw and organic is basically raw is pure. Organic is a product, and especially honey, that doesn't basically contain any artificial or any chemicals inside. Organic honey and all organic food, it have to be far away from the reach of the different sprays. And when you call organic, if it's genuinely organic, like we have here, as you can see, these signs, this is organic, certified, and we have a certificate for this. So if you have these certificates, that means your product is organically certified. And basically organic, it means pure and natural. If honey, for example, is not organically certified, it doesn't mean it's bad for you, but it could be collected God knows where. It could be collected with some of the different types of chemicals inside what the bees are feeding. But once when you have organically certified, the bees cannot be very close to the sprayed area. And then you have an agency and you have a test and you have a government that will basically test that honey, analyze that honey, and that honey is 100% pure. Bee pollen and honey suggested for allergies according to scientific research. When the bees collect bee pollen and honey, they collect from the flowers. So basically when the pollen is ripe and the wind takes that pollen and tosses that pollen in the air, we breathe that. So if your body is not strong enough to defend itself from the different pollens, you will be experiencing allergies. What honey and bee pollen does for your body, it basically builds your immune system, and we highly recommend that for allergy and breathing problems. Honey and pollen will build your immune system. Your immune system will be much stronger to defend itself from the pollen in the air that you are breathing. Bee Power honey is the best of the best mixture. Why we call it Bee Power honey? Bee Power is all the goodness from the beehive. So this unique blend, it's honey, bee pollen, bee propolis, and royal jelly. This product is highly recommended for people with lack of energy, sleeping problem, digestion problems, etc., etc. Every honey product is the best way to take with a cup of warm water and 1 teaspoon of honey, mix it well and drink. When you do that, in about 20 to 25 minutes, it will help you to go to your bloodstream because it's very easy to digest and will give you lots of benefits. This jar is about 400 grams and this jar is about 40 days supply. So you will basically get 40 honey superfood drinks from this jar of honey and bee pollen, propolis, and royal jelly. We at NutraBee are partners with a large beekeeper here in Ontario, Canada. We produce only pure, and that's raw honey. And our honey, it definitely tastes extremely, extremely good because it comes only from the flowers. There is no artificial sugar or there is no corn syrup in our honey. Our bees only feed on the flowers. And that's why our honey is 100% pure and it's Ontario honey, Canadian honey. Honey normally is stored in the big barrels, and from the big barrels we pour in the jars. Different size of the jar depending, it's a 30-day supply, 60-day supply, 100-day supply that we have. Honey is always recommended to be stored on a room temperature and higher because of the crystallization, and honey should be always kept on a darker spot so the sun doesn't shine to honey, because once when the sun shines to the honey, It's not very good with the sun beating the honey. It will develop. It will lose some of the nutrients. If you buy honey, you store it always in a cupboards. In kitchen cupboards is always nice, and make sure it's stored on a room temperature and above. The ideal temperature for storing the honey, that's about 25 degrees Celsius. I use Bee Power. Bee Power definitely is the best product that we have, and the Bee Active Safa. These two are my favorite products to be used in the morning because they really work and gives you all the nutrients, gives you all the minerals. Even if you don't have a time to have a breakfast, use 1 spoon of either or, mix it with the warm water. If you don't have a chance to mix with the warm water, mix in a bottle of water. Shake it well, enjoy while you are driving, enjoy in your office, enjoy on your work. So that's what I do every morning. I use one day Bee Power, and the next day I would use Bee Active. The reason I'm called Honey Man, because I look sweet.
That's a great one.
Number one. Number two, we are really, in our business, we are really educating people. We are not selling to people. We are so happy when we have a customer that they can come to our store, they can come to our show, to the stores where we sell our product, that we can give them some information about honey and honey products. And people really enjoy that. People really learn a lot. So we have thousands and thousands of people who came to me and they say, you should be super honey man. I said, thank you. I feel like that. I eat honey, I drink honey, I sleep with honey, and that's why they call me Honey Man. We choose Niagara region for a number of reasons. We were living here before we entered into this business. And Niagara region is a beautiful part of Canada that fruit and vegetable grows abundantly here. And the climate here for the bees is tremendous because flowers are there abundantly on fruit and a vegetable as well. We estimated that 20 years we spoke at least with 200,000 people. We educate 200,000 people to live healthier life with honey. A couple of particular friends that we have. One lady is, her name is Michelle, and Michelle's use exclusively Bee Power. She's in late 70s, and she calls here and she said, "This is Michelle. I would like to place an order." And she always buy 5 and get 1 free. And we became such a nice friends with her. And she said, "I swear on this product that this product helped me to save my life because of her previous illnesses." We have a gentleman in New Jersey in US. His name is Mohammed. He said, "This product that you have, that you developed with your family, it's just basically unbelievable." And we touch bases every once in a while, and he definitely is so happy. And we have thousands and thousands customers and friends like that. NutraBee is blessed with a great family and a great product as well. We work hard and we give back whatever we can. We give locally, we give nationally, and we give internationally as well. We developed one product that's called Haga Honey, especially for autistic kids. So all the profit that we make from the Haga Honey goes directly to Autism Ontario, Autism Canada, and Autism Niagara. Haga Honey came from a wonderful person, our grandson Medin, who likes to hug people, who likes to be hugged. When we were naming that honey, we thought that would be very good, noble work to name it after him. That's why Haga Honey came from there.